Welcome to our Meet the Experts Emmy nominees composers panel. We're here with Michael Abels from Alan v. Farrow, Christopher Lennertz from The Boys, Kris Bowers from Bridgerton, and Stephen Price from David Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet. Congratulations to you guys, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go way back right now. So, what was the first instrument that you learned how to play, Michael?
The piano, absolutely. I was trying to play do re mi, and I just assumed at age 4 that if you wanted to play the piano, you could. Like it was no big deal, and it wasn't sounding right. So I asked my grandmother, "Why doesn't this sound right?" And she said, "Well, you got to take lessons." So I'm like, "Oh, okay then."
And then you nailed it.
Right. Lesson two is playing the whole songbook. Yeah.
Kris B, how about you?
Piano as well. Yeah, my parents decided before I was born. They're not musicians, but strangely, they decided before I was born they wanted me to play piano. And so when I was about 4 as well, they put me in lessons, and I never stopped.
Stephen?
It seems like we were all about the same sort of age. Mine was a guitar, though. There's a little orange plastic guitar that came out of the Beatles, sort of the British invasion stuff in the early 60s. My uncle had it. So it's a little plastic thing with 4 ridiculous sort of unusable strings on it. And it was just lying around our house when I was a kid. And I just used to pick this thing up. And the story goes that I just used to try and pick out little tunes with it. And after annoying them for long enough with that, it became, would you like to try this slightly bigger guitar? And would you like to try a lesson? And that was, that was it for me, really. I kind of froze my development around that time and never did anything else.
Kris L?
Well, I started with trumpet when I was 9, and I was not very good. And then I heard Van Halen and decided I wanted to be Eddie when I was 12. And so I sold that and bought a Sears guitar for about $50 and learned how to play Eruption. And that was kind of where I went from then. But I wish I played piano like Michael and Kris.
Do you guys have a favorite genre to work in, whether it's just like comedy versus drama, or like narrative versus documentary and nonfiction? Kris B?
Not really. I kind of like part of the reason why I always wanted to be a film composer is because I was excited about being able to write in different styles and different emotional contexts. Like I started with jazz piano, and for me, improvisation was where I really fell in love with music, just learning how to express my own feelings, express emotion and all of that. And so as soon as I learned that there was a job where I could, match any sort of narrative or emotion with music, that's really what drew me into it. So I don't really have a favorite. I kind of feel like as long as it's good, it's almost like the music quote, the Duke Ellington music quote. It's like there's only 2 genres, like good and bad. So I feel like that's really how I feel about it.
Michael?
Oh, I would what Kris said for sure, but also I really like I like any story where the music really has a chance. There's some moment where the music has a chance to really take it out and go over the top, and show what music can do for the storytelling. But it can be in whatever genre that's in. If there's that moment, I'm there.
Kris L?
I'm massively ADD. So that was sort of what drew me to being a film composer, was the idea that I could do something different every day, because the idea of doing the same every time sounds horrible to me. So the answer is like, whatever I just did, I want to do something else. So if I just did a comedy, let's do a horror movie. And that's definitely whatever's next, as long as it's different, it's exciting.
And Stephen?
Yeah, no, I'd absolutely agree with that. It's definitely a case of, always trying to find something that you feel you can't do. I like that feeling at the start of a project where you're a little confused about things, and it kind of makes you panic a little bit and focuses the mind, I mean, ultimately, for me, if you can find in any story the thing that makes it really unique to the way that story is being told, those are the dream things for me. So no matter what the genre, if there's something in the story that I can make a central part of the music and make that feel unique, those are the dreams for me. So whatever the genre, that's the hope.
At any point in your careers, like, was there like a case where going into like a project or like a different piece that you thought it would be so difficult to write and like you'll never crack it, but it turned out to be the easiest thing? Like it just came really naturally to you? Kris L?
I mean, the thing for me, I always feel like it's, if it feels like it relates to me personally. I did a video game early on in my career called Medal of Honor, which I took over from Mike Giacchino, and my grandfather was in World War II, and so there were, I felt like I already had music to write for that purpose before I ever got the job. So like when I got the call and it was all about a soldier in the Pacific, which was where my grandfather was stationed, and missing his family and losing his best friend, like that was the story. And so I already knew about that and had sort of grown up hearing real stories about that. So that was what made it sort of easy for me, to hopefully write something that I thought was one of the more authentic and sort of heartfelt things that I've ever written.
Stephen?
Yeah, it kind of varies. There's always one cue when you're going through a film at the start that you go like, oh, that's the biggie. That's the one that's going to be the tricky one. And I've had it both ways. Sometimes it's really proven to be the tricky one, but a couple of times I've been kind of surprised almost through the collaborative process where I played a theme early on or a piece of music which just seems like it's kind of connected with the filmmakers. And all of a sudden that's answered the thing you were really worried about. And this thing that you kind of, oh, I'm never going to think about it. Turns out you might have got it in the first reel, you just wrote it in the wrong place, and it needed to have other people give their thoughts on it to kind of answer the question. So yeah, I mean, there's always a moment when you go, uh-oh, this is the tricky bit, this is the thing that's going to really count. And sometimes that can make me avoid that cue for a little while, but I've been quite lucky in other places where the question's just been answered for me by the process, really.
Kris B?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know why, but I always make like everything that I work on way harder than it needs to be in my mind. As far as like, yeah, every time I start something, I'm always like, oh, this won't be too hard, and then I'm like pulling my hair out, and like this is the hardest music I've ever.
Everyone does that, don't they? Like no matter.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like the times where it feels like there's a flow state, which can feel easy, is whenever I'm like just focused on the emotion, because usually I'll think about whenever I'm working on themes, like, or even a scene, think about what I'm trying to convey emotionally. And then I just go to the piano and improvise, trying to like find something that makes me feel that way. And maybe just because the piano and improvisation feels like such a safe space for me, then I usually start to fall in love with that feeling. And then I find something that feels right. And usually I find that if I can find something on piano or even just like writing that's making me feel moved emotionally, then it'll work with the picture. And then when I try it against the picture, maybe like 80% of the time it works. But I feel like those moments where I'm just focused on emotion are the times where it feels close to easy. Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah, in some ways, it's not just about one scene, but it's a daily struggle. The best music I write always feels like it was like I just was transcribing it, like it was already there and I just wrote it down. And you're always trying to get to that state, even when your assignment is really specific, within that specific assignment, you're trying to get to a place where you just flow and you just feel like it's spontaneous. And that's happened. It's not about the project or the scene. It just, on certain days you feel it and that happens, and other days it's a struggle. And sometimes I have to, the thing that I go to try to get out of that is just to figure out how I'm getting in my own way. How can I not, if I'm experiencing resistance to what I need to do, how can I take my own resistance out of that? And it's kind of a fuzzy answer, but that's what I try.
Mm-hmm. So all of your projects are available on streaming, and I'm someone who watches like opening credits and even end credits because I like to read them. But that's usually when your music is playing like over the credits, and now there's options to like skip credits. So I'm wondering, like, how do you guys feel about that? Because you could skip the opening theme, and then at the end, like, they usually like load a new episode, or like they're recommending a new show for you to watch. Steven?
It's not my favorite development in recent years. That I think there's something to be said for the film being an entire experience, and the idea that you would just cut the end off something. Oftentimes that's the opportunity musically. You get to really express all your themes, and you get to really sort of celebrate the story that's been told, and it's absolutely a part of the thing, and I think it's a shame that it's gone that way. I kind of, every now and then I think that maybe they'll change the choice around slightly, and maybe you get to choose to skip rather than automatically skipping, but I guess they're very keen to get you onto the next thing and not let you tune out. But yeah, it's
I think on some services you have to like go into settings and like turn off the automatic like load. But
there you go. Well, we could all do that, but yeah, it's I think it's a shame that it just takes another moment of the experience away, and that might be the experience that some kid hears something that sends them off on a whole journey. So any of these things that cuts off that opportunity is a real shame, I think.
Kris L?
Yeah, I mean, I was always that kid who and grown up who like would sit and they'd start sweeping the M&Ms off the floor at the theater with the lights on. They would have to kick me out because that was where I got to hear that was where I got to hear the music I really wanted to hear and feel like I could get that unadulterated listen before I ran to whatever record store I was running to get the score. So I do feel like it's really a shame. And I love it when my filmmakers decide to fight for that. And in Lost in Space, for example, Zach always puts, at least some sort of a main title and then gives us some time at the end. And so I feel like, like Steven said, I think there's a part of the experience, that you're missing if you don't get that unadulterated sort of experience of hearing the music and hearing maybe, that's where some of the great, John Williams wrote some of his greatest theme suites were for those end credit sequences. And man, that would be a shame if we didn't have those. So I miss it.
Michael?
So if you're binging the 5th season of your favorite show, you have my permission to skip the main titles. But Alan v. Farrow it's only 4 episodes. It's got 2 different end titles. Okay. So you want to stick around for that just to see which one we chose and why. There's all sorts of good stuff you're missing if you skip the credit. Also, I'm terrible. I want to see the credits, but they give you that countdown of you only got like 5 seconds to hit the button to see them, and I always miss it. And then, like in my house, this is a joke of like whether I'll be able to find the bright button before it skips the credits, and so I have to sometimes go back to the episode before and scroll all the way to the end. So
I've done that as well.
All right. Well, I think those of us who play the end credits should voice our opinion and make it. We need at least 10 seconds to. At the very least, at least I do. So okay, end rant.
We're going to start this petition right now.
Thank you.
Kris,
yeah, I agree too. I mean, similarly, I definitely used to sit in the theater and watch all those things, and even on shows, like there's so much music, like songs actually that I've discovered on TV shows where I was like, man, what song was that? And I didn't get the Shazam out in time, and so I decided to wait until the end until I saw it. And yeah, it's a little scary to see how that affects. I've worked with a lot of filmmakers who have fought against that have decided we're going to find some sort of creative way to have the end titles be different, like Michael was saying, so that people will stick around, but also some creatives that decide to just kind of make it really short and sweet, or like just have a little title card or something like that because they know that's going to happen, or just kind of like cut together music for the end credits because they know that'll happen. And I feel like between that and I just saw the other day, I was on Netflix and saw that you have the option of watching at 1.2 or 1.5 speed now. You can watch something faster, and I was like, "That's so terrifying that we're trying to encourage this consumption of material in a way that some people might not understand how that's just really harming a lot of the craft and art and heart that went into it, so hopefully we'll have some fighting against that, but yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, the plan is for in-person ceremonies at the Emmys. So what are you guys looking forward to at the Emmys? Are you all planning on going? Michael?
Oh yeah, I'm there. I just am waiting to hear what day it is, and it'll be my first time, so I'm just gonna enjoy being there and take it all in.
Kris B?
Yeah, same. I feel like I went to the Oscars earlier this year, and it was like the first time we had been to any sort of ceremony like that since the pandemic started. And my wife and I, before the pandemic, every time there was any sort of awards campaign, we were like, oh, another event, oh, another thing, like, oh, do we have to do this, have to get dressed in? And going to that ceremony, we were just like, wow, it's so great to see people. It's so amazing to like see friends and like actually embrace people. So I haven't been around that many people since then, so I'm excited to be able to like see people and catch up and all that.
Like, oh, humans again.
Yeah.
Stephen?
Yeah, it's absolutely the same. I mean, I think we've all got far too used to these conversations online where we're all being very careful not to talk over each other and all those things that are actually part of a really good conversation. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to having a really good conversation, less about the ceremony, more about the bits either side of it, where we get to chat and hear what we're all up to. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And Chriselle?
Yeah, I didn't get to go to my first to the Emmys for my first nomination, which was 15 years ago for Supernatural, because I was on my honeymoon. So we were snorkeling, I think, at the time. But this will be my first one finally. And again, like the other guys, I'm very excited to get there to just mostly to see these guys who are friends. I haven't seen any of you in way too long, and and that's one of the great things I was going to say about being the only song guy on here is I get to tell all of you how brilliant you are. I've seen all of the things that were nominated, and you guys are all geniuses. So I can't wait to actually give you a hug when I see you in person.
Likewise.
Well, it was great speaking with all of you guys. Congratulations again. I hope you guys have a blast there in September. Fingers crossed, everything will be okay by then. But thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Joyce.